Jaron Boots Ennis responds to Shawn Porter yet again. We're going to talk about this. Stay tuned. We unpacked. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to my channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. Now, this is a follow-up video to a previous video that I made regarding Jaron Boots Ennis and Shawn Porter and an exchange of word. So make sure you guys hit the sub button, subscribe to the channel so we can go everything in its entirety and you guys can be hip to the latest and greatest in boxing. Without further ado, we're going to start from the beginning. Roll the clip. So this clip is Shawn Porter on his podcast, and this is what he said about Jaron Boots Ennis.
No, you're right here.
I'm right here.
You're out of control.
Okay, all right, you're right there. Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah,
He's coming back.
Yep, there you go.
I got scared. I'm not going to say it.
Oh,
you got now. You have to.
Hell no.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
no.
I thought for a second you said I got scared of Boots, and I was like, oh, that's unbelievable.
Me too. I
mean,
was like,
true,
bro,
but
come on.
you don't say that.
You gotta come back, and you know I don't even want you to come back.
Boots is overrated. Whoa.
Boom. Boots is overrated.
You don't say that.
You gotta come back, and you know I don't even want you to come back.
Boots is overrated. Whoa.
No, you don't want us to get carried away. You got to see something.
Boots is overrated. Get the hell
Shawn?
out of town. Shawn, you shut your mouth too over there.
It's super dramatic with all the whoa. But in case you guys are having a difficulty hearing, Shawn Porter said Boots is overrated, you know? And, you know, it's seemingly out of nowhere that he made this statement.
Whoa.
No,
I was like, oh, that's unbelievable.
Me too. I mean,
true, but you don't say that.
You gotta come back, and you know I don't even want you to come back.
Boots is overrated. Whoa.
No, you don't want us to get carried away. You got to see something.
Boots is overrated. Get the hell
Shawn?
out of town. Shawn, you shut your mouth too over there.
I think he's the most gifted fighter in boxing, but when he's getting caught clean. Even DeLorean we tagged, he's not getting caught here with the shit. He's getting caught on the button. And
now, to me, I think there's way too much being made about Jaron Ennis getting caught clean and getting punched. For starters, it's boxing, you know. So at the end of the day, you're gonna get hit. I mean, even the great Floyd Mayweather, Pernell Whitaker, guys who have masterful defenses, they got hit. That's just the reality of it. I think Jaron Ennis, I think Jaron Ennis is special, and I think certain guys, they are in the ring and they know what is being presented to them, and they know how they feel, and they know the level of danger that they're in. You know, they know how hard they've trained and stuff like that. So what I'm saying is this is, at the end of the day, some guys choose to become more aggressive as need be, you know, as they see fit, because they feel they can do it and they can get away with it, and no one's really made them pay. And, you know, some guys are like that. They're like, hey, I know I could take what you're dishing out, but you can't take what I'm dishing out. And that's not to say that some guys like Jaron Ennis, who to me, he looks special, right? That's not to say that he doesn't have more skills that he has to, that he can dip into if need be. So I don't understand this incessant conversation that I've seen mostly on boxing Twitter, but you hear it again on Shawn Porter's podcast, where, you know, it's all this commentary about how Jaron Boots Ennis gets hit. It's boxing. You're going to get hit. And if you're aggressive, then, of course, the more offensive you are, the more you're open for counters. And at the end of the day, guys like Sergey Lipinets and Delorme, they're not trying to get melted by Boots Ennis, but that's what happened. You know, they end up getting melted. So, of course, these guys have heart. They're veteran fighters. They're going to try to fight back. So I think a lot of people are putting such a precedence on Jaron Ennis gets hit when he's going in for the kill. But the funny thing is, I see this, and I particularly see it more with black fighters, where if they get hit and have like an aggressive offensive style, I see more and more boxing fans nitpicking like that their defense should be tighter, you know, almost like on some stereotypical stuff that they shouldn't be getting hit at all, right? But then it's ironic because some of the same people that make these comments about said black fighter getting hit too much, they are fans of other fighters like Ruslan Provodnikov or Brandon Rios. So I just find it pretty ironic that people are saying, or even like Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. Like, I could show you pictures of Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, who old media praises. They said he was the best fighter ever and #1 pound for pound and top 25 in the last 25. These are things that have been said about guys like Roman Gonzalez. Same thing with Inoue. And these are good fighters. I'm just making an example. Inoue, when he fought Nonito Donaire, who was an older Donaire, right? And Donaire broke his jaw and broke his eye socket or his orbital or his nose or something like that. So he had sustained a lot of punishment. You never seen Jaron Ennis at this point of his career, no matter who he was fighting, like Inoue with a broken orbital and broken jaws and all that. But people keep making such a tally of him getting hit each time. And I seen Errol Spence go through the same thing. They say, oh, Errol gets hit. When Terence Crawford's on dudes, you know, on their tail, like Mean Machine, they say, oh, he's getting hit too much. But then look at the outcome of these fights. You see what I'm saying? Errol Spence undefeated, Jaron Ennis undefeated, Terence Crawford. So that's something I've noticed throughout the whole world of boxing. And I notice it's like, particularly with black fighters, when a black fighter happens to be aggressive or in that given fight or moment chooses to be aggressive, I see this like, oh, he's getting hit too much. But it's like, how do you as a boxing fan like other guys? You know, I'm not going to name a million fighters, but there's so many other guys and their defense is super leaky. Like, even look at Teofimo. Teofimo Lopez gets praised. His face looked like Hamburger Hill at the end of the George Kambosos fight. And Kambosos' face had a lot of scarring and marking. So I don't understand why the bar is, I understand, but I don't understand, if you know what I mean. Why the bar is set so high for predominantly black fighters to not get hit, you know, and be 100% unscathed and have this crazy defense that, you know, they're impenetrable and all this stuff. Pause. But then Teofimo at home gets beat up by a guy coming off of 2 like majority decision, split decision draws, and George Kambosos, who wasn't supposed to win, and his face is leaking by the end of the fight. So it's just something to note. But this is on Porter's podcast. Let's keep going.
But when he's getting caught clean. Even DeLorean we tagged, he's not getting caught here with the shit. He's getting caught on the button, and that is a problem. But I wonder if he was moving in for the kill when he got hit with that. But he might either he's gonna.
And I just thought of another example right now. Gennady Golovkin. If you watch the knockout of Daniel Gill, it's the same thing. Triple G was trying to melt Daniel Gill, and he hit him with like a chopping shot, and Daniel Gill had punched Triple G dead square in his face at the same time, but clearly the chopping shot from a brute puncher like Triple G had more significant impact and damage, and he ended up getting a knockout. But this is just, for me, this is just everyday boxing stuff, so I don't understand it. Triple G was also praised at large points of his career, like when he was on the HBO. They were saying he was #1. And again, that's an example. Go to the Daniel Gill fight. He getting punched in the face, directly in the face as he's knocking out Daniel Gill. But people are saying, oh, Jaron getting hit too much. I just, me personally, I get it. But then again, I don't get it, if you know what I mean. Let's go.
Have a Philly chin that's so good.
I can tell you hot. I'm hot. I said it.
I'm shocked the words. I'm shocked those words came out of your mouth.
I know you are. But listen, Boots is overrated, and this is why I say he's overrated. Crazy. Everybody is so hyped up on him but he hasn't been in the ring with any world champions yet.
Well, they don't want to fight him.
Sean.
Huh?
That's how it goes.
See, even Shawn own podcast, Porter's podcast, seemed like they almost turned against him, and they said, that, "Hey, the guys don't want to fight him right at this moment." And then Shawn Porter's like, you know, trying to make this drive this point home that Jaron Ennis is overrated.
World champions yet.
Well, they don't want to fight him.
Sean.
Huh?
That's how it goes. They got hype about you guys before you got.
True.
That's boxing.
But I feel like it's
That's how you build your fighter.
And don't forget that I'm the one that said that, or one of the ones that said this dude is the closest thing we got to Roy Jones. I've said that. I'm on record. I believe that, but at the same time,
overrated?
because every name that you throw out and Boots is smashing, Boots is smashing. Right. Damn, like let the fight happen and say Boots smashed him, or man, that was a great fight. Boots did well, but don't blatantly Boots will smash everybody in the 147 pound
Boots
division.
is basically what Errol Spence was. Errol was gonna smash you. He's gonna smash everybody.
I wasn't listening to that. I wasn't having it.
And like here's the other thing. I don't understand. Like, I don't know if it's for clickbait or views or, you know, I'll get into what Jaron Ennis said, so make sure you stay to the end of this video. But another thing that doesn't really make sense to me about what Shawn Porter is saying, he's saying that, oh man, Boots ain't did nothing. He ain't beat no one. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And he was like, let him beat someone first. But ironically enough, if we're really being honest, and this is not a knock on Terence Crawford, but let's talk some facts. He's saying, Shawn Porter just said, Boots ain't beat no champions. So I'm assuming at welterweight where he's at, ain't beat no champions. And people keep saying he's going to smash everybody. Like, man, let him smash him before you come to the table saying that BS. That's basically what Shawn Porter's saying. But ironically enough, on the Thurman Barrios fight, this was Shawn Porter's top 10 welterweights list. And he has Terence Crawford. And he admits he didn't go as hard as he could have in past fights, as hard as he did, because of, you know, he was retiring and he knew he had, like, he later came out and said he had arthritis in his hip, whatever the situation is. But he has Terence Crawford listed at #1. So the thing is, we all know Crawford's a great fighter, but Crawford only fought one welterweight champion, and that was Jeff Horn, a guy who really shouldn't have been a welterweight champion because Pacquiao beat him in the fight and they robbed him over in Australia. So if we're gonna be so harsh on Jaron Ennis and say like, man, let him beat someone, you have to really look at Terence Crawford's run at welterweight. And I know the totality of his career, and we clearly see the skills with Terence Crawford and the undisputed in another division, but at welterweight, he only has one champion. So we're basing everything we see from Crawford off of a faded Shawn Porter, a faded Kell Brook, Jose Benavidez, who had been shot in the leg, a faded Amir Khan, couple fights removed from the Canelo knockout, and one champion, which is Jeff Horn. So what, I mean, what's the real difference? So Crawford is kicking butt and taking names, and he's definitely passing the eye test, but so is Jaron Ennis. So it's like, why be so harsh on him? And Crawford's 34, Jaron Ennis is probably 24. So 10 years, he got a lot of time. And Crawford's 38-0, Jaron Ennis is 28-0. So, you know, it's really weird that Shawn Porter chose to pick on Jaron Ennis in this fashion. Now, before I get into what Jaron Ennis said, Shawn Porter stood by his prior comments. After that interview dropped and people were talking about it, he says, quote, I meant what I said. And he did an interview that's on YouTube. And Shawn Porter says on his comments of Jaron Ennis on the Porterweight podcast, he reacted to Ennis's tweet. So this was after the podcast clip got out and I had made videos and other people were talking about it on Twitter. He says, quote, I meant what I said. So Shawn Porter is not backing down and not taking it back or, you know, backtracking. He's just saying, oh, we running it. But again, if we're going to be harsh on him and we're saying he ain't beat no champions, Terence Crawford beat one champion who shouldn't have been a champion at the welterweight division, and you have him rated above Errol Spence, who beat you when you were still motivated, and beat Kell Brook when he was undefeated at welterweight, before Crawford, but you have Errol Spence rated at number 3. So when people, this is the thing with podcasts and commentary, is when people have the podcast and the commentary and put opinionated opinions out, it starts to look like there's something else deeper to it when there's no continuity or consistency with your metrics and how how you're giving the information. You know what I'm saying? You're saying Jaron Ennis, like, it's just so many ways I can break this down. You're saying Jaron Ennis ain't beat no champions at welterweight, so who cares about the eye test? He ain't done nothing. But then Terence Crawford, like I said, he only beat Jeff Horn, who we know really lost to Pacquiao in that fight. And you have him rated number 1 above everyone. So, it just doesn't look consistent to what you're saying. The other issue I have is moving over his list. You see your Dennis Ugas at number 2. So you beat Shawn, like, just tell me this list makes sense. You're harsh on Jaron Ennis, but then you say Terence Crawford is number 1, and the only champion he beat at this weight class is Jeff Horn, who again lost to Pacquiao from most people's, who's being fair and reasonable, their perception. Then the guy you beat, Ugas, even though I thought Ugas beat Shawn Porter, but on paper, Ugas beat you, right? On paper, you beat Ugas, and he didn't get credit for a knockdown, and you beat him. You have him ranked ahead of Errol Spence, who beat you soundly. It's just like, I don't understand. And he has more belts. It's like, how is Ugas ahead of him and you beat him, but you lost to him? You lost to number 1. In my opinion, he lost to 1, 2, 3, and 4. But definitely 1 and 3. On paper, you beat Ugas. So how's Errol Spence behind Ugas? I'm not even going to get too far involved because it's not my opinion. And ultimately, there's a great unification between Ugas and Errol Spence. So I don't have to spend too much time belaboring that point because they're going to fight. It's already been announced and confirmed. So that'll square that away. Moving on. Then you have Keith Thurman, who beat Shawn Porter. And then you have Jaron Ennis, which we unpacked. This is another question I have when we're talking about consistency. How do you have a guy in the top 5, but then you're saying he's overrated? That doesn't even, that's why I don't know what the intent was. I haven't talked to Shawn Porter. I don't know, but he's standing on what he said and he's saying, yeah, I meant every word I said. But it's just, to me, it's such a weird and fickle standpoint. How or why would you put someone in your top 5 if they're overrated? Why didn't you put Virgil Ortiz above Jaron Ennis, or Jesus Ramos, or Conor Benn, or Stanionis, or Rashidi Ellis? You know what I'm saying? This is your own list. You guys see at the top, it says Shawn Porter, top 10 welterweights. So to me, it doesn't really make sense. And I think this is kind of I just think it's a bad take. And I said that from the beginning. And I think this all stemmed from the Thurman Barrios podcast. And this is what happens when you say old media talking points. You got to make sure that you sound it out and it makes sense. I mean, a guy's overrated, but on your own personal list, you have him in the top 5 as of right here. And I think this all started from the fact that Joe Goosen rated Jaron Ennis number 3 and rated him so highly. And Shawn Porter fought all these other guys. And maybe Shawn Porter, maybe it's an emotional take, you're just emotionally tired of hearing Jaron Ennis, who you don't think has done enough, get the credit that he's getting. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. When Canelo was coming through, I'm sure a lot of people were hyped. Even Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., I remember people were hyped just to see, how Chavez Jr., whether people pan out to be what they're supposed to be or whatever, hype comes. You can't stop that. You can't stop it. People love Jaron Ennis and what they're seeing, and he seems to be focused, and it seems like he's really trying to, etch his name in the history book, So I don't know. I just think it's a bad take, and it's a weird take from Shawn Porter to just come out and, just put Jaron Ennis on blast in that fashion. Put him on blast and say like, oh, he overrated. And other thing that I wanted to address is this. I noticed, why is it easy for Black Americans to go in, the gloves are off against other black Americans. And then you see stuff like the Joe Rogan situation, you know, different people feel different things, but the Joe Rogan situation, and then you see some of the same black Americans or black people, and they're going to bat for Joe Rogan, but then they're knocking a guy like Jaron Ennis, who's not even really doing nothing wrong. You see what I'm saying? Like, I see people, it's just, it's sad, man. It's real sad in the culture that I see people who will be more quick to try to rationalize or explain what Joe Rogan said. He said, I walked in the movie theater, it was like Planet of the Apes, you know, and incessantly using the N-word. And you see some black people are more eager to patch that up and say, nah, I'm still rocking with Joe Rogan. He cool. He ain't done nothing to me. Won't. And then you see, you know, this situation with the Shawn Porter, Jaron Ennis, and he's kind of tearing him down after he put him in the top 5. And he said, man, he a bad boy. So it's kind of like wrestling almost, where Hollywood Hogan emerges out of nowhere and he dyes his beard and he turns heel. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know if that's what Shawn Porter's intent was, but that's what it seems like. Like, we know Hulk Hogan as a good guy, and all of a sudden he the bad guy with the dyed black beard, and he NWO, and he doing the, you know what I mean, doing this. And it's like Shawn Porter kind of flipped on Jaron Ennis in that way. I just found it weird. And then, like I said before, when it comes to like situations with the Joe Rogan, you got people going to bat for Joe Rogan more than they going to bat, or just creating situation. Like, we could keep it, even if we're not even talking about Joe Rogan, even if we keep it in boxing. I've never seen Shawn Porter or certain people go in on NOA or Lomachenko, say, oh, NOA get hit too much, which he does. He does get hit. Look at the Donaire fight, right? But why be so critical on Jaron Ennis? You know, why not spread that love? If everybody's being fair and unbiased, why not spread that love? That's all I'm asking. You know what I'm saying? If you don't like guys that get hit and you want to see a pristine, you know, you want to see some Willie Pep, Pernell, James Toney, Floyd stuff, then keep it consistent. You know what I mean? And I think in this field of commentary, it's just getting bonkers, where you see the most inconsistent opinions on the internet. It's crazy. It's like, oh, this guy gets hit too much. And then you find out a fighter that they really like. You're like, what? You said he get hit too much. What about this guy? He get hit all the time. He get hit up his face. He be having hematomas and face be all lumped up at the end of his fight. But Jaron Ennis get hit too much. All right. You know what I mean? So it's just weird. And I just felt like it's unnecessary. The other thing, you know, since we're unpacking and going through everything, the other thing for me with Shawn Porter saying those statements that I felt was a bit off was it's kind of in poor taste to make these comments right after you retired. Like, you were a welterweight the whole time, right? You're a welterweight the whole time. And it could have been to a point where you could have made those statements if you felt that way when you were an active fighter, but then you retire. And then you know what I mean? And then you make the statements that surprise your own podcast said that, oh, I'm surprised you just said that. So you surprise your own podcast cohorts and co-hosts. They're like, dang, I'm surprised you even said that. But it seemed like a better statement to maybe make when you're an active fighter, because Jaron Ennis, he's saying, I'll fight you, come out of retirement then and show me how overrated I am. And I truthfully, I understand that energy, because truthfully, you want to be judged by your peers. You know, if J. Cole comes out with an album and Kendrick Lamar is like, man, that album overrated, that album sucked, Cole wasn't spitting, of course you're going to feel a type of way. You know what I'm saying? Or if Cole come out with an album and Drake is like, nah, that wasn't it. Because you really want to get celebrated by your peers, even if they're rivals. You know what I'm saying? You want people to give their props for the hard work that you're doing. So I really understand Jaron Ennis kind of feeling a type of way and saying, hey, fight me, you know, if that's how you feel. But with Shawn Porter, he's retired. So I told you, I don't expect the fight to happen for that reason. But it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of in poor taste, because that would have been a good fight. You know, Shawn Porter, if he was active And Jaron Ennis, especially with the back and forth calamity and, you know, verbal altercation and saying, hey, I stand on it. But it's kind of like throwing rocks and then running in this inside and looking at the window. You know what I'm saying? And the neighborhood kids, they like, nah, you hit me in the head with a rock. Come outside, come outside. And that's kind of what it is with the Jaron Ennis. So I just feel the whole situation, I don't expect it to go far, but I just felt the whole situation is weird, you know, because it's just so unnecessary. Shout out to YSM Sports, link in the description. This is Jaron Ennis. I told you guys, stay tuned to the end. This is Jaron Ennis, a snippet of his reply to Shawn Porter.
You know I'm here, Boots. Shawn Porter's comments called you overrated. He gave some context into it, and you know, I seen the tweet. What's your thoughts on the overall situation?
I mean, I don't know what's going on. Maybe Crawford punched him a little too hard, and then he lost some brain cells. So I don't know what's going on, but
he said maybe Crawford punched him too hard, and he lost some brain cells. Wow.
How you gonna say that? And when he was one of the main people joining me and telling me that, you know, I'm ready and he's too much for these guys. Now you want back on your word. You was the main person saying it a couple months ago. Now you want to change your mind, but that's on him. I don't know. It's a little publicity stunt or trying to get his podcast up or something, but it is what it is, man. If he really think I'm already, like I said, he can come out of retirement and fight me. And I've been calling him out for years now.
He said if he really feel that way, he can come out of retirement and fight me. You know, see?
I've been calling him out, Crawford, Errol, Spence, everybody. I'm trying to fight these top guys. Everybody know that.
Do you feel like he said it now because he's retired and he doesn't, like, he's not going to get the questions about fighting you like he was 6-7 months ago?
Like I said, I don't know what's going on. I really think it was him trying to get his podcast up, and you know, negative energy bring a bunch of views. So true. I think that's what he really trying to do. But he need to keep that same energy, stay where he at, and I ain't trying to hear none of
that. Do you feel like you get your?
He said he need to keep that same energy. I ain't trying to hear none of that. He said he need to keep that same energy and stay where he at. So, you know, just a weird situation. Really didn't expect that from Shawn Porter. He usually pretty, I don't know. He just uses his words. Like, I don't know. I never really seen him do that. And see, I could go in deeper, but I really don't even feel like it at this point. Shout out to Jaron Boots Ennis, Mr. Catch a Body. That's his reply. I gave you a lot of my thoughts in this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as I unpacked it. We unpacked, you know, just kind of a senseless situation, especially if, like I said, Shawn Porter's retired now. There's really no baseline for that comment to happen because nothing's going to manifest from it if you're doing a podcast and commentary and you're no longer fighting. You see what I'm saying? So it was just kind of weird timing and makes me wonder why he even put that out there. And again, it's just like some of the things I said in this video. You put Jaron Ennis in your top 5, but then called him overrated. Like, I'm not used to stuff like that. Like, I don't even know in what world that makes sense, I guess you could say. Like, I just never seen nothing like that. Like, you literally put him in your top 5 and then said that's like you put him there and said, that's like me. Here's an example. That's like me going to Whole Foods, going to the grocery store, and then I buy a bunch of food that I don't eat. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh man, why do I got anchovies? Like, why'd you buy anchovies if you don't like anchovies? You see what I'm saying? That's what it reminds me of. It's like how you go to the grocery shopping, you usually buy, you're going to get some deli meat. If you don't eat bologna, then you're not going to buy bologna unless you have kids or something. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of weird that someone will put someone in their top 5, their list, out of all the fighters in the welterweight division, you put him in the top 5, but then also said he's overrated. So why did you place him there? You know, so many questions. But let me know how I did in this video. We unpack. And I'm out. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster.